welcome back to Drrodrohrich Knows, helping you become a better and more informed you. So today we'll talk about one of my favorite topics, social media and plastic surgery, and with none other than Dr. Roy Kim. Dr. Kim is an incredibly talented plastic surgeon in San Francisco. Roy, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
Good, and he's a master of social media. He's a social media manager for both the journals, PRS and Global Open, and as well as for Dallas Rhino and Dallas Cosmetics. So how was your day?
Oh, it's great. It's an honor. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
It's great to have you here, Roy. So let's take a deep dive into social media and plastic surgery. And I think it's obviously, social media is the be-all, end-all for almost everything in medicine and beyond today, and especially in plastic surgery. So tell me about, why do you think it's so important and so powerful in our specialty of plastic surgery?
I think it's just personalized. So you can figure out as a patient if you like a specific plastic surgeon, not just their before and afters, but also their personality, whether their strategy sort of goes along with you. And interestingly, patients see that they can sort of select a plastic surgeon. Well, plastic surgeons can actually sort of select their patients because they can emphasize certain procedures they do, their approaches, as well as, hey, if you're talking on video, your personality comes through and it's going to attract the patients that you want and like.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a two-way street. I think that it's matured enough now that actually, they'll pre-select you, like you said, because they like you. They not only like where you live or what you do, but they like how you interact with patients. And I think that's why it's so important to, have not only yourself but also patients on there. So how do you do that? And what do you look for when you're talking to a plastic surgeon that's starting out on social media? What are like the three things you tell them that they must do?
I think the big thing is to be authentic, be ethical, be transparent. Sort of the big things that we know about in terms of social media and just being true to yourself. I think another thing that you need to emphasize and really think about as well is patient safety. So as long as you talk like as a plastic surgeon, you're talking to a patient, you're talking to a friend, that's really how you should approach social media. Talk about your definite approaches to what you do. And it's always about the patient. It's always about making sure that they get a great result and that they're safe.
Right, I agree. Be open, be honest, be yourself, and there's nothing else you can do. I mean, and put the patient first. I think that's the most important thing. And I think you do that in life, and you do it on social media. I think, and if you don't do that, honestly, you can see it. I know when people go on social media and they're not doing it themselves, or they're trying to be somebody they're not. It's pretty transparent, don't you think? I mean,
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So how, as a consumer, what are some signs that you have to say, okay, this is real, this is not real? What are some of the things that the consumer should look for, when they're looking for a plastic surgeon or specific plastic surgery procedure?
I think the big thing is video. So video is more popular than just static photographs. But when a plastic surgeon puts their face into it, as opposed to an AI avatar or just a photo, I think that is more authentic. When plastic surgeons talk to their patients, they're physically like standing next to them. That's also much more authentic because you can see the psychological reactions of the patient. If they get along, that's hard or impossible to fake. And finally, consistent photos with consistent lighting, as opposed to like photos with bad lighting and better lighting, photos with like no makeup and tons of makeup. I think those are the things you look for.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's so powerful. Or patients showing, the pre-op photo, then the post-op photo in the garden or by the pool, and I mean and also the consistency. And I love doing videos with my patients, and I think that's very important. And I think, also, as what are statistics? 50 to 70% of photos shown on social media are sometimes morphed or altered, and that's pretty crazy. Pretty hard to morph a video. I'm sure you can do it, but and I think videos just kind of show the power of your interaction. I like that a lot. So what do you think? What do you do that you use in your practice? I mean, you have a very good social media network and channel. It's very, very powerful, and you cover the gambit of plastic surgery. So Tell us what you do that has been very powerful and successful in your practice.
In terms of social media, I think the big thing is that I don't really outsource it. I actually come up with the overall ideas, the scripting, just me talking. My early attempts, I'm pretty awkward on video. I think everybody is. And also sometimes I tend to talk too much or maybe talk about uninteresting topics. So you have to sort of focus on the consumer, on the patient, make it fun and interesting. And honestly, the basics are you a candidate? How much does it cost? What's recovery like? All that good stuff. But the unusual questions are sometimes where I get some of my best consultations, my most interesting comments, because those are a lot of fun things to do.
Like what? Give me an example. Like
when I talk about maybe unusual complications, when I talk about slightly unusual combination of procedures.
Yeah.
When I talked a lot about, I went to Korea, heard about Regeron a couple years ago, started talking about it. For whatever reason, that exploded. So salmon skin DNA injectables, things that are unusual that, aren't quite mainstream but still work, those are the things that, I think really help.
Right. No, I know. They're new, they're different, and they have evolving science, as long as they're safe. I think that's safe. I think that's very important, yeah. So tell us, for the consumer, and then when they're looking to find a plastic surgeon online, what are the 3 things that they should look for to help them make sure they get to the right person, the right place, and get potentially a great result?
Yeah, I think the first thing is you have to do your own research. You have to be your own patient advocate. It doesn't matter that plastic surgeons spent years honing their craft and may know different vocabulary. You really have to know what the procedure is, what the basics are on your own. Don't just listen to plastic surgeons. Second is to talk to actually several plastic surgeons. This doesn't necessarily mean spending tons of money, but even just talking to the offices, the patient coordinators, and definitely book a video consult or real in-person consult. Those things really help because you get a flavor of what you can expect in terms of strategy, treatment, and aftercare. And I think finally, once you gather the facts, you have to go with your gut. You can't do paralysis by analysis. All the facts help, but essentially you have to make a decision.
Right. I agree. Those are wise words from a very, very smart plastic surgeon and an experienced one. And I think, obviously, know before you go, board-certified plastic surgeon, somebody who's an expert in the area you want, whether it's rhinoplasty, breast augmentation, and someone who's got experience. Look at their website, look at their online reviews, although sometimes that may be so-so. But just remember, there's nobody's perfect out there. Nobody has perfect reviews of anything. But make sure that they're authentic, real, and honest, just like you said. So very, very wise words from Dr. Roy Kim, who's an amazing plastic surgeon in San Francisco. Know before you go. Give us your comments and thoughts. And until next time, stay safe and stay informed.